Welcome back. This episode will be Serendipitous Deck sermons, which will make sense because it will be in that playlist. But hello, welcome to the new people. Welcome to the existing crew of subscribers, and I thank you for your presence. I am feeling 2 cards are going to be what I'm doing today. This will be akin to the other previous videos where I am moving through a deck that came to me one piece at a time. There's about 24 left here. These are the ones yet to be read and divined. And so as I found these along the path of my life one at a time, I didn't take note of the time period, the things I was moving through, or where I picked it up. And for some of them I remember because they stand out, like the Queen of Hearts I found in Edinburgh on a ghost tour. Like that, how will I forget that ever? But they each store in them the memory, the energies of that time period, but also they have now come to form a deck, which I now named the Serendipitous Deck, finding them through serendipitous, occurrences. And they're something that has been in my longer than my spiritual practice and understanding of like meta consciousness and the spiritual existence that is a human existence. So now that I have consciousness over understanding all of that, I am giving each of those cards the chance to speak to what it is that they mean and what it is that they then bring the collective that find upon these videos. Because the energy will be stored within each one. I set an intention through Reiki before. I used to sit and like intentionally send it through as a charged Reiki piece, but it didn't feel aligned to continue doing that. So now I sit with the intention beforehand and open up my Reiki channel, and also know that that is going to allow me to clearly divine what it is that the card has to say. So with all of that said, I also realized when I was going through this that the Ben and Jerry's cards are still in here, and I have 2 of them, which is also where this started to be like, no, this is not happening to anyone else, but also at different stages. I found one by itself and then another one, separate places, from the same deck, I assume. Oh yeah, these little white marks are because I had them pinned or like blue tacked to a board for a long time. I was like, oh, they must be because they have the same marks. I would assume that I found this one first because I don't remember finding a split card until later and like keeping it together and seeing the importance of all of this. But they were the first ones. They're still in this to like be gone through because they called to me with whatever ones are holding a message that is necessary for myself, for the collective at the time that I'm called to make the sermon. But what happened after a certain point in my life, they stopped showing up because I had, as plain as day, they were like a thing that was like breadcrumbing me, not in the negative way, in the like Gretel and Hansel way of this is the path you should take. And even just their occurrence, rather than it being literally, oh, you're on the right path sign, they were showing me that there is signs very loudly trying to speak to you and will get through to you in whatever way it makes sense for you to understand them from your perspective. And then they stopped after a certain point because I had found the path that I was on. I had found a place in which immense healing, well, immense like tragedy and experience would occur, leading to immense healing. But it was as if I was like entrusted at that point that like, okay, you're on the road now. We don't need to be showing you that you're on the right path. You get it. And that was still before certain understandings of my spirituality. And then like this and this and this and this all happened. Big, humongous, awful, momentous things that like tore me up from the inside out in a physical and emotional way that led me to a spiritual practice, which saved my life because I met my inner child, my higher self. I learned words for things that had happened to me in my childhood. I learned the words for stuff that was occurring within my life at that point in time so I could identify all of it, heal it through therapy, through practice of like witchcraft or spiritual things, and just like I looked up everything and anything that my heart pulled me towards. And I was living in the forest and I had my cat Dylan, and it was immensely healing time. And then after I had come to a certain point of all of that growth, I ended up buying a trailer from someone and turning it into a home. Um, and not since like my paternal grandfather has anyone in my family really been like a builder. So it really felt like a generational leap of like connection between myself and him, but also between like, I built a home. Like I was brought up in, like, this is my mother's house that I am currently sitting in, like capitalism liking humans raised me in a city. And so to put a fire burning stove into a place that previously had a big hole burnt out of the back of it to like create a new wall, I had help, thankfully, because it takes the village sometimes, or just like another person with a cool circular saw. But like, whatever, I did the thing. And in that trailer, when I bought it, was a full deck of cards, just like an unwrapped, or sorry, a wrapped, unopened new deck of cards. And it was just so like the way the path had led me there, the way that I led myself there, and then that happened, and I was like, all right, at some point, I will be dispersing these cards. Like they're for me for now, and then when I get to a certain extra next level of my realization and understanding, I will be dispersing this card after card across the world. I don't know. I may go to Japan someday, but for now I'm in Ireland, like for the long haul. So um, I did that the other day because some shit went down, and I had like a very beautiful talk with actually one of my grandparents, which is the grandfather that was into building and stuff like that. And there was just like a lot of realization. It's the last grandparent to pass. And so there feels like an even kind of more intense or fully realized connection with ancestral guides and guardians that I have previously had a bit more of a disconnection to, because I felt more connected to my own energetic past and future rather than to my bloodline's past and future. And now there's a lot more of an alignment within those previous disconnections. They are now connections in the spiritual sense, not necessarily in the, if you need to cut people out, they're out. That's it. They either do or don't deserve your time. Some things can be healed, but that's not why I'm here today. I could speak for a long time on stuff like that. If that would help other people, that is something that I have been through, and I haven't actually. I was the first person that I knew that was doing stuff like that, like actually cutting people out and stuff. So if it would help anyone to hear about that journey in a more raw way, then I would speak on it eventually. And definitely, if there's any questions that you have, I would be happy to speak on that. But it also gives me a good insight. So for when I start to provide readings, etc., no, there are things that I have an understanding of that can like be helpful insight when I'm reading someone's energy. So moving right along. I had my first card dispersed, and I put it somewhere, and it's accidentally I put it right in the same place where I found my first card. I'm not going to do that with all the rest of them. I have been getting locations from a lot of them, and I'm like, I don't remember finding it, but I can feel exactly where you were on the street when I hold this card, which was one of the first inklings a few years back where I'm like, oh, I can divine these cards. They have stuff to say. We got to start this. And it took another like year and a half or 2 years to start this. So thank you for witnessing it. And I put the card from the like new deck, and it was a 9 of clubs, and it came to me. I didn't pick it specifically, down in the place where I found my first card, because I figured like poetic, and it sat there for a few days, and I'm like, why did I put it somewhere that I walk past? This is like, I'm just watching it now be in the rain now, like the state of some of these cards that I found them in. They sat in rain. One of them I literally found in a full ass puddle, which is that 6 of, I think, spades, but it's the one I found on 14th Street between 2nd and 3rd Avenue in Manhattan, in case that's not obvious. And there's a whole episode on that one. You can look back or whatever and how I carried that home. But like, needless to say, it does not need to be in pristine condition for someone to pick it up. So, okay, what has jumped out here when I did that was the 10 of hearts. I have some little cards, and I was looking through these, and I was like, I've been watching all of the Lord of the Rings that I possibly can get my hands on lately, because I am writing a fantasy world, to which I realized that like Tolkien level, that is the kind of aim I want for the creation of the world that I am going towards. Okay, this is a longer intro than I meant it to be, but also welcome to my world. So, okay, that is one of the cards for today. Is there another one, or shall I do it after we read this card after? Okay, alrighty. So you know I have called in my guides and guardians, which include archangels, angels, ancestral beings, and the plant fae, and elemental beings that are here for our highest good. I set that intention. And also a newer deity, which I know by name that I am working with now, is the Morrigan. So that is another entity in which is allowing the channeling and supporting the energy here and protecting you, me, all of it. Okay, so what I am going to do for these is see if there's an initial message that I can leave you with here, and then I will be pausing it so I can take all the time it takes to listen to this card, because that varies in length, I've noticed. Get all the notes down and then come back. Allow me a sec here. Okay. Two things, but specific. So one is the kind of like a tree that you know nearby that you could go sit underneath and lean your back up against it, and like preferably like a thicker tree, but once you feel supported by its energy, I like immediately just got that like all around the back of me, which just felt very like supported and comforting, and reminds you of like, regardless of what human connections exist within your life or the state of the life that you're living, or you know, in comparison to where you were and where you want to be and all that kind of whatnot, you are supported, and a tree can absolutely show you that at this point in time. In a different way, it would be like sitting against a wall or something like that, or a chair. Like a tree, yeah, okay. Or maybe it's encouraging also to go find a specific tree that fits you well, because that can be a really beautiful thing, to find like a part of a tree that fits your body, the way that like you have that with the human, where it's like, you just fit right in my arms in this really lovely way, because it's just like such a beautiful part of a relationship. But allowing that to happen with something that is not human for yourself, because that will last through every other relationship that you possibly could have. And also it's a different energy, right? The other thing is, and it's like like it's super obvious, but sometimes this is the thing. One Love by Bob Marley, Hear the Children Crying was specifically there, came out. So that for me could, now it's just that I've said it out loud also, is like, okay, listen to something your inner child, you possibly think that you've healed it already, or you're aware of the stuff that you've been through with that and that part of yourself. But it is a continuous relationship, but there's like more to the developing or envelop, the development, the processing that is like needing to occur to kind of full circle a lot of the stuff that you've already been through. And what I had initially got when that lyric stood out was like how in a community it takes listening to all the voices that are a part of that. That also means that to do that, you would have to know how to speak your truth, right? So before you go and ask other people to be able to speak their truth to you with trust that like you're a safe space for it, but also trusting that they are speaking their truth. They know themselves well enough to be able to advocate for something that they need, or to at least express it. A safe space needs to be had, but work within one's own self needs to occur, so that like we all show up at the table in a way where we're like understanding of what it is we need to ask for from each other as a community moving forward, within a relationship of two people, within a group of friends, within a family, a chosen family, like in all kind of facets of fostering relationship between each other. And One Love kind of honing in that, like it very did feel like a community thing of like all the voices need to be heard. And oh my god, okay, the reason that I brought up the Lord of the Rings thing with this is because the cards, this card beside the other cards, felt like how the hobbits look in like the thing. And you know, I know much more about the making of it now. So yeah, just that like there's a lot of people they hired on set that were like not necessarily given nearly as much fame or whatever, that have dwarfism, and they like made the film, you know, what it is. So, um, but as far as there being the child lyric, yeah, even the smallest voices are as equal as the loudest voices, as what seems like the most important voices, as the most rich voices, like whatever. We are all on a level playing field. We are equals, no matter what it is our society and our setup and understanding of success and importance has like warped our vision or understanding of what equality is. Plus, also, I know just from a fact of saying this out loud that it actually matters more to do with like equity as we move forward, but that's like my own interjection to the message. I would say that that is an application though to your inner self as much as the relationships you have with other people. So, ooh, I forgot I'm wearing a microphone. That might have screwed with the sound. Okay, I will pause this and see what else I get from the card, and I will see you in a moment. It's not gonna register as long time for you. Okay, my darlings, hello. Alrighty, kind of starts out with the energy that I have from before. Oh, it's not gonna focus. Oh well. Okay. Hear the children crying. Inner child reprocessing what you have already opened up and dealt with, full circle. And then kind of letter happens. Sometimes it's like imagery and stuff, although I know I found this now on a sunny day outside of Stephen's Green. Is in spring, but it was like the kind of heat that like a city gets when the sun shines on the stone. And then a number, I'll read it as it comes together because that makes more sense, but those are kind of separate little messages. Okay. Because it is with allowing the whole circle of this process, like 1 to 9 to 10, which is like, you know, using the numbers again, you go back to 1 and so on in numerology, right? That you receive a place of steady, stable fruition. It really didn't want me to use the word reward here though. So, you know, it's not like, oh, through all of these gates you will pass and then you get rewards on the way. Not that kind of linear. Definitely wanted me to stay away from making that analogy. So I wanted to make that point. So because it is with allowing the whole circle of this, that you receive a place of steady, stable fruition of the work that you have done. A more wise and loving vantage point to now look back over your journey from. This allows deeper and like a settling in of the healing, which actually vibes very much with the energy from the last read that I did, where it feels like the work people have been doing is like settling in, but this is very much like it is settled, and now there's a, anyway, okay, I'll keep going. See all of the seeds, where is it, that you have planted with produce, will produce. I've like scribbled a lot of this, so sorry. See all the seeds that you planted with produce, will produce, beautiful fruiting berries, and hearty, I want to say tubulars, but I'm writing potatoes because I don't know if that's the right word, but tubes is another way I wrote it. So, and these show the varied and abundant experience that you have allowed yourself by allowing your inner child to be heard. Let them dance. Now, this is referring to your inner child. Let them dance or climb. Close your eyes and see them being celebrated. See them as they are. Tell them that they are beautiful and wanted, and that they are invited always to eat and speak their truth at your table. Eights. The number 8 came up, lots of just 8s, which kind of full circles, right? And then there was this like imagery of sunflowers and then wildflowers across these fields with like a mountain in view. Now that exact thing that came back to me was like looking at these rolling hills over towards Mount Helens, except for in this, you're looking at it from your own peak, and you can see this like mountain far away with like these beautiful wildflower fields in between, right? Lots of abundance and joy, fruition, right? And know that that mountain that you see from your own peak is another person having done this work as well. And they are at a place of recognition and healing too. You are not the only one. The weight of this is not all on your shoulders. Oh yeah, okay. You do not carry the burden of our future alone. It would be a burden. Nope. It would be it would be an unwise thing to say that it's only up from here. As the way is not linear and not steady. Steady is not the sorry. Steady and ground only. Steady ground only is not the way of collective healing. But nevertheless, this is a moment of a win. And then I was like, I know where that goes in all of our minds. So this distinction felt very important because of the growth that we're moving through as a collective, and then therefore our language that we use, how we see this. Not to compare this moment, the process that I've just described here, to compare to battles or war. It's not like, oh, this battle has been won, right? The war is yet. Those analogies speak of a dying way of existing. It is, instead of fights or a fight with what is external, instead is an accepting and a processing in love and compassion what is internal. This acknowledges what our external world has been and is only. This acknowledges that, the wrong letters I'm writing, that our external world has been and has only ever been an expression of individuals' relationships with themselves. And if there is not deep acceptance, consciousness, and healing there within each individual, ... well, ... because need I explain where it's gotten us, right? You've met humans. Okay. Do in this space acknowledge the pain of the perceived losses and things that you have felt through to get to today. But remember, as you feel these or observe them, your work has taken. You stand protected and safe. And even in the midst of what's to come, you have got yourself. More than you may know yet. It is seen and witnessed as you hear these words. When this and you find each other, the energy has aligned with this reassurance, and you and Source have got you. You and Source have got you. However much you allow that to fuel how you move in the world is yours to know the best way of. Okay, then that finished, so I held it in between my two hands. I feel like I'm choking up or something. Like it feels, oh fuck yeah. I just I feel really proud to be a human. There's a part of me that does not want to say that. It's so interesting because I've just been observing the way that we identify what is human, what is inhumane, the way that humans act. And the experiences that I have been thrust upon me and I've been blessed with in this lifetime have allowed me to see ultimate darknesses within the way that the humans exist, as well as ultimate lightnesses. And all of it's human. And until there is a whole acceptance of everything that makes up what it is that we have been doing and acting upon each other, not speaking about, putting into the shadows for a long time, can healing happen. Like that is for each individual to do, for the collective to move through as the individuals work through it. You know, all you can do is what is within you. And, you know, that's where it's difficult, because it's like doing things like this, I hope allow people a space of understanding that, like, not only that they're not alone in the work that they're doing, but this has a much massiver, greater effect than we understand when we see things in our 3D understanding of the world. Um, it's affecting the existence in which we like live in the 5D. So to also track to something I had said in another video and didn't really explain, and I feel like if you're understanding things that I'm saying, like this could be seen from an emotional intelligence point of view. A lot of this for me is understood though from the point of view of I am energy and I will be back to any lifetime that I need and want to go through for my soul's mission. And explaining that doesn't need to necessarily align. Like you know, spiritual practice and understanding of one's existence is very a personal thing. That's the point of it. The universe is literally expressing itself as you so that it can understand itself in any and every way that can fathom possible, right? So the individuality of you matters in a sacred fucking way, like in a way that just surpasses what I think we even understand as individuality, which I'm not going to go down, okay, that route. So, but because our eyes lead us to see, apology for the chair noise, separateness, right? Where there is not actually separateness, like we've built such an individualized way of existing that I know that there is something to be learned in the experience of the individual separate from its collective. And that matters because it's a part of the journey that we're on. But the collective existence matters massively as well. And both are a piece and a part of the entire balance of us coexisting, of us existing in a way that is harmonious and accepting of itself and everything. And sadly, we are always exactly where we're supposed to be. And I feel as though many a specific kind of body in this world is, you know, those who are marginalized feel the absolute brunt of what it is our species has allowed for itself up until now. But, you know, the work is where it changes and this is where it begins. But it affects the energy plane that you may feel and not always perceive. And I just normalizing understanding that way earlier in my life would have helped a lot of me understanding why I felt like I was like I can tell, I feel like I'm telling the future, but also I feel like I'm creating the future. Like things that I just say happen and they're really random and like super weird miracle awesomeness. Sounds like the name of an indie band or something. But like, I'm not the only one. And us realizing our magic without also doing the healing leads to a shadow-led empowerment. And so light-led empowerment, but mostly in an acceptance of the shadow and the light that makes the wholeness of us is where, like, I understand this because I've been through it. And so in whatever way I can bring that to other people, that's my calling. That's what I'm here to do. Okay, so then this vision and the movie Suzume, I wrote it down, hang on. Suzume, Suzumeme, was an anime that is about like doors and stuff, but you don't really need to watch it. Maybe do, maybe there's messages within it for you. It's beautiful, beautiful film, but I won't go into explaining that because it's not particularly relevant, but it was this kind of like, to imagine a doorway. Maybe it is particularly relevant. Why did I burp? So there you go. Someone needs to maybe go watch that movie. Seeing a doorway as, it's a portal, right? But in that film, there is like just separate doorways that manifest in, well, I mean, I think they're already doorways, but are just like got broken out of a building and now they're just sitting by themselves in some of the cases or whatever it is. But like, that is the kind of door that I'm speaking about here. So there's just like a random door that opens that has like this frame, but that's where I'm not going to describe it for you. So what the message came through was, there is a doorway that you find open at this time in whatever manner that makes sense to you. I'm not going to explain it. You need no longer fear if it can or cannot be shut behind you. nothing that I can see for you on the other side, except that, oh yeah, I just kind of like wrote that down, whatever. So I got this sort of a shape of a door, which feels like an inviting shape, right? Because it's kind of like a rounded U, right? So I figured I would say that. The door is ajar, um, and you have now discovered it, and you want to go through this door. That is the tone with what I needed to write that down with. It was like, I put it in these, you want to go through this door. Um, but I cannot, it's like I saw not emptiness, I saw like it like flashed into white light basically when I went through the door in my mind. So I know that whatever is on the other side of that looks different for each person that is now envisioning what it is that I have just said. And so trust what it is that shows up for you, whatever that may be. And if it's still yet to reveal itself, then it's yet to reveal itself, and allow that to take its time. Takes the time it takes. You have been prepared for, or preparing for it, and whatever came to mind when the door was spoken of is unique to you. And then I was like, what number is on the door? Like, I feel like it's like a house doorway to a beginning or something, you know, symbolism of doors. 20 is what came up. There's also like me questioning whether it was a 7 or not, but it was not. But in case that in itself is a message, I figured I would say it. So then I got like this kind of, you know, flash to another image of jumping in puddles, and like a kind of thin puddle. It wasn't even like a deep one, right? But there was like a lot of enjoyment with specifically the sound, and then like the satisfaction of what it is to jump in a puddle, and then also specifically the where did I put the rest of this? The knowing that you can get dry at home later, kind of reassurance of like, I can jump in this puddle now and have it be fun, and then like within an hour I'll be in like dry socks, having a hot chocolate in my hand, whatever you may find comforting. And then, yeah, that was it, because then it showed me that I found it at Stephen's Green, just outside the gates that are on the kind of Bagot Street entrance of it, and outside of the gates for sure, not inside the park. And it was a sunny day, but it was in spring. And that concludes the 10 of Hearts. Yay, which is just a beautiful energy to read. So thank you very much for allowing that. Okay, so it was 32 23 when I saw it, which is numbers showing up a lot for me. I think I'm going to leave this at one card and then do a second card as a separate video, because yeah, I don't want to freak people out or deter them from starting into a message that might be for them, just because it's like a movie length of a video for me to be uploading. Yeah, anyway, thank you so much for allowing this energy for yourself, for being on this journey, whatever these words mean to you, whatever way this like feels inside of your body. Like, I want you to feel so much pride in showing up for yourself in this way. It's not been laid before us before. Like, you're doing this most likely on your own intuition, and maybe based on certain tarot readers, or from this, or from maybe you were lucky enough to have like someone that was in your life in a young, when you were young, that like held space for this kind of understanding. And there are many teachings out there, but because I just listened to something recently, spread out your learning. Feel always what is right for you, because this is the way that I've moved through this, is that it never really drew me to be aligned with one kind of doctrine, with one, I mean, not like everything that you get about Sagittariusness has philosopher and priest and shit written on it, which I'm like, I kind of understand this now. But question everything and trust yourself over all of the other external factors. And that's the best way to roll forward. And I'm not even meaning like there's people aligned with you in your life, even if they are someone who's like healthy and healed and emotionally intelligent and spiritual and stuff. What works for them, what aligns for them, does not have to align for you. And you are allowed to create fully your own religion. I don't know how well that book would work now, but I did read the Kelly Catrone. Ooh, was it her first book? Anyway, she had a little page in it that I remember seeing like way before I understood any of this, definitely post any kind of interest in like being in a religion. Anyway, I was raised Catholic, so I'm not, you know, Irish Catholic. Not that so much, but I like the community. I think we could use churches for a whole other thing, but you know, that's a longer term plan of my life that I am existing. But yeah, there has been, you know, in a sense, no blueprint, but also you are the blueprint for like what it is that your spiritual practice should be, because your intuition, your heart, your inner child, like what you want to play with, what feels inspiring to you, what feels, and it could be literally anything, obviously, once it's not harming you or others, um, you know, intentionally. Anyway, okay, so go in love, and that almost became very freaking massy of me. I love you. I love you so much. Because you exist, I love myself. I love my past self. I love my future self. I wish this kind of love for every single person and being that exists. But that is up to you to give to yourself and learn. So, yay. Bye.